This is your weekend market review for Sunday, May 12th, 2024. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market review for Sunday, May 12th, 2024. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Hopefully everyone is enjoying this day. So, going into next week, busy week of data, especially Wednesday and Thursday. We've got PPI on Tuesday as well. So, we know there's a lot going on. And if you've been paying attention to the channel, and if I remember right, nope, there's not a meeting. For some reason, I thought there was. If you've been paying attention to the channel, there's a lot going on. And we talked about this week being really important, right? Well, why is it important? It's an OPEX. You got CPI data, you got retail sales, you've got a lot of stuff going on, and the market's been bouncing back on the idea that the market is going to rate cut. As we talked about, if you go look at the Fed fund futures, first cut's not even thought about sniffing until maybe September. So on that note, do we chop? We said for weeks, could it chop around until then? It's always possible. Now we're getting back closer to the highs, and let's kind of dig deep into it. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to reach out. Always here to help. Please follow, hit the subscribe button on the Twitter. Well worth it. Posting some trades. Always fun stuff going on over there. Don't watch everything that comes up. Get your 30-minute calendar link. Again, if you ever want to chat, you know where to find me. It's in the description. Hit me up. Let me know how I can help. Also follow on the website, tradingagent.com. This is the goal, folks. This is the goal. It's also educational videos on the website, but also on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate it. That's all I ask if you are looking for help. And 52 educational videos. So what do we know next week, right? Tons of data, right? We know the Feds, here you go. Remember, we're at 5.5, 5.2. That's the current range. Set the refresh again. You're about 50-50, like we said in September. July, still not anything worth a what. All right, Bitcoin, chopping. Oil, holding here at these ranges, maybe oversold near term. Everybody's getting excited. Oil down, market up. Woohoo. Natural gas holding up. Again, we talked about there was no, what's the best way? Not much downside. I don't want to say no downside, because there's always downside until you get to zero and you can go negative on futures. But there wasn't much downside here. We expected a bounce. Again, congrats. Now you're coming into resistance in here. Please be careful. Don't just ride this out endlessly. Dollar holding up, watching the 200-day. TLT said, watch this on Friday, right? It was kind of really spooky because it was just going nowhere. Market popped and then gave it back. There's a lot of just no volume indecision. And again, that's what happens in the summer. That's why I tell folks, be careful in the summer with options, especially going into May. VIX, I'm mind boggled. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15 out of 17 days red. Nothing wrong. Nothing's wrong. Look at the economic data falling off a cliff. Everyone's betting on a rate cut. Again, we know the Feds can't cut rates because unemployment is not high enough, but unemployment is growing. Unemployment is growing. But again, if you really want to kill out inflation, you don't cut rates real quick. Please be careful. VIX, again, I like it holding down here. SPY, talked about we expected a bounce. Did you expect it this high? No. And again, this is trading. This is me being vulnerable, being honest. If you think you're always going to win and you're always going to be right, you're believing in hope and hype. Trading is about defining your risk, setting your stops, sticking to your plan, doing what you think. And again, sometimes you short and you get stopped out. And sometimes you short more than once you get stopped out. Sometimes you buy in and that's part of the nature of the game. That's why you don't go all or nothing all the time. I tell this to folks, this all or nothing mentality, right? Dangerous. QQQ, not as strong. And this has been the leader. So keep an eye on this, because this is what we're watching. Because this, again, SPY right back near the highs. Again, congrats to bulls. Congrats to people who got long. Again, not going to discount that and not try to say, hey, you didn't do great. No, that's just the nature. Bulls make money. Bears make money. People win. Both sides can win. IWM, chopping around, fills the gap. Again, lagging, not back near the highs. DIA, which had been leading up, seems to be, leading down. Catching back up again, kind of like kind of like the NASDAQ. Just keep an eye on it. QQ, GLD. Check this out. Look at this gap up. Gets over the trap, back into it, nothing. Okay, we'll see what happens here. I mean, I like the short here. I think it makes sense, but it could be a choppy, sloppy mess, right? Like, again, here's the topping potential from this candles, and the same thing on gold. All right, now you're back into resistance again. We like the dust down here in the sevens. We've said it. Again, the lower the sevens, the better, obviously. Come back up, retest. All on light volume. I mean, you had one decent up day, but then you had no follow through, and then we've been riding on light. Keep an eye on it, because again, if you want to buy dust at 7 something, set a stop at 7. Whatever you need to do. But again, people will be like, "Well, you're wrong." Go, that's part of trading. Silly. You're not always gonna be right. GDXJ, same kind of thing. Talked about AEM had been holding up pretty darn well. I mean, has been made new highs. AG, same kind of thing. Oh, I wouldn't say it's the same thing, but just holding up, chopping. Newmont retesting the highs again. Watch. PAAS, same kind of thing. Chopping around. Retesting range highs of recent. But when you zoom out, you can say, hey, there's a lot of room here. Upside. That's why, again, if you are short, you're not staying short with a unlimited time frame and unlimited risk profile. No, it's very calculated. Taiwan Semi bounced on Friday. Look at that. Look at that gap up. Why? I don't know. I didn't really even care too much. I just thought, I'm like, well, I wanted to short here, but now we're above it. There's other things I was watching, like Apple, the fruit, some of the other trades. But we'll talk about it here in a second. Like not Micron, but here's some of the chip names popped. Watch the resistance, right? AMZN. This has been an absolute laggard, right? 20-day. NVDA, again, love the short at 920, but we know we got in earnings coming up. So just please be careful. Is it this week? Or is it next week? I swear I went through earnings and I didn't see it, because all I saw was Cisco, AMAT, Home Depot, companies I saw that made a difference. But if I'm wrong, please shout it out, because I know it's coming in time. SMCI, people have been trading this one again. I mean, they had great earnings, like good forecasts. But again, after that big of a move, it's digesting. We'll see. I mean, the short makes sense at levels. The long makes sense at levels when it gets oversold. Intel, never ending. But I mean, again, I'm not going to say this is going to just continue to go lower. I honestly think if the market is functioning in a way that it is and it holds up and chops, I mean, if the stock goes from 51 down to 29, it's probably due to bounce. And that gap fill would be very logical. SMH, chopping around, right, in the range. Keep an eye on it. Adobe's. The Adobes. We talked about this dropping on earnings, right? Now what? Oops, dropped my pen. And then it chops around. I mean, it's just, again, big consolidation patterns. I mean, trade the ranges. Trade what you feel is correct, but have a plan. Apple, watching this short, love it up here. I mean, would love to see more at the trend line. Keep an eye on it. Because, again, Buffett's selling. Everybody's selling. Look at that gap up, man. Speaking of NVIDIA, too, selling. I mean, like, the big boys are selling. But again, they pump it. You got to find a positive and pump it, right? And just at the lows, they'll find a negative and they'll just trash it. Amazon has had a potential double top. Meta, we talked about this like 570s. So we thought, honestly, and again, this is where me being honest and just sometimes being wrong, like you're not going to, like you can trade forever. And you think if you have 100% batting average, remember, 300 gets you into the Hall of Fame. In trading, if you can be right like 6, 7 out of 8 times, you're doing really well. Talked about this area, but it just went right through it. So now the next area right here in the 470s. CRM, love that baseball analogy. 300 gets you in the Hall of Fame. Not perfection. Gaps down, chopping around. Guggenheim fills the gap, right? There's a lot of gaps, right? Look at that gap. Fills this gap, chopping around. Just watching it. Again, reference points. References for trading. Mr. Softy. Here you go. Chop, chop. MicroStrategy. Oh, sorry. NDAQ. This one's been, in my opinion, I think this one gets crushed at some point, but holding up pretty. I mean, again, everything has spots. And again, here's the thing. Just promise me when you're trading. If you get into a trade and it pops you out 2 times, give up. Take a break. 3 times, you're out. Like, just whatever it is. Like, just don't continue to go back, because it makes sense to short up here. It made sense here, right? Like, zoom out. Like, again, this is me being very confident, honest with you. Like, this is part of trading. Losing is being the best loser. Well, now you have the next reference. So that's what you waited for, and then you go. You got it. Now you're looking good. MicroStrategy. Talked about this one, chopping around. Watching the 20-day. This area matters. We talked about it. I mean, again, you could argue maybe a head and shoulders bottom if it holds like 1150. There's a trade for you. Just watch the levels. I mean, you zoom in, you'll see them. Netflix, gaps down on earnings, fills the gap, backtests the trend line. Okay, now you have a 3-day, you've got this range here. It has to hold 606. Roblox, gap down on earnings. Look at that, coming right back. But again, this is what happens. Oversold. You go from 48 down to 28. Not surprised. It kind of reminds me of what I was thinking with like Intel. Like you just get whopped at some point. You come back. Pan W, we like this trade long term. We know Pelosi knows knows everything about everything. There's going to be a cybersecurity issue. Watch the 100-day, right? Good old Tesla. Same kind of thing. Or not same kind of thing, but here it is. Gaps up. I apologize. I got distracted by the phone call. Gap up, 20-day. There's a trade there potentially. Just, again, find your risk. DKNG, not DKNY. Watch this 45. I think I like it as a short. Again, the best gambling is over until later in the year. Airbnb, gaps down on earnings. Costco, beast mode. Surprised. Did I trade this? No. I'm watching. I'm like, holy crap, coming back to the highs. Starbucks, gaps down on earnings. It's kind of same thing. Like at some point, like even like the laggards just play a little catch up if the market holds up. I mean, we've talked about this since the hundreds. I mean, I don't need to go on about it. Just expecting a bounce, probably going lower. FedEx, we talked about 100, 200-day cross. Holding pattern, held on it. All right, cool. Caterpillar, cat meow. Again, support equals resistance. Nice little double bottom over the 20-day. If you're familiar with what a doji sandwich is, watch tomorrow's action. If it gaps up, it probably could continue running. Nucor, chopping around, 170s, 200-day. X marks the spot. Chop, 200-day. VALE. And we'd like material names, but not until the Feds pivot and cut. Watch those levels. Again, they're going to be volatile. I mean, that's part of the nature of the beast. I mean, I was looking at Arrow again. I'm like, is it going? And I was like, oh, I guess not. Keep an eye on it. CCJ again. I hate when Goldman Sachs upgrades at the highs and then you retest. Got to get over these levels. If it is, cool for the bulls. If it doesn't, Goldman and their sneaky. CF gaps down on earnings, chopping around. Mosaic, chopping around. NTR, chopping around. This one actually had a nice little bounce. I mean, getting over the 200-day is important. Here's the thing. This is what I've seen with these names. I wish we could come on 200-day catch up. Like you'll get over these moving averages and you give it right back up, right? So just keep an eye on it. Again, I think the easiest money is when it's all said and done is when the Feds pivot and these things have already gotten washed out. AA chopping around again because I don't think there's a lot of downside, but there's also not a lot of massive upside in my opinion. XLFer. Wow. That's all I can say. I mean, I saw the action on Friday. I'm like, are you going to continue? Nope. Didn't do anything. Watching the 10 level on the FAS again. JP Mo, gaps up, tight action. Morgan Stanley, trying to break out, right? Okay. Again, I mean, banks and brokers are different. Bank of America, Doji at the high, Goldman, we talked about if you owned a freaking markets account like we recommended, they're making all-time highs. I think your money's safe. Carry, as we talked about, the 50 area is really important. Keep an eye on it. XBI, here's another like risk-on name like we talked about. But here you go, oversold. Remember, nothing goes in a straight line all the time. Bounces. There you go. Watch this area. Solar, it's just to me, again, I don't think there's any upside in solar until feds can spend money and their subsidies come piling in. I mean, we said Sedge, oh God, it's got a 49 handle. I remember in the 300s, people were like, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, all right, man. These companies have no business. And the government subsidies start dwindling. First Solar, ENPH. ENPH, again, I think remember their CEO was buying and selling stock. I mean, he's probably trying to create his own market to unload in. And then First Solar, we talked about, it's going to be wide and loose at tops and bottoms. Like it's usually pretty wild. Well, keep an eye on it. That one makes sense to me. HYG, again, here's a go. Like, are you buying corporate debt? No. You got to be crazy. Oil, pulled back again, some more on Friday. Been a little oversold, not surprised. UNG, again, I hate the UNG, but we talked about that levels made sense. Just be careful. This thing decays. The thing to play is the KOLD because it decays and it goes down when natural gas goes up. But here we said, watch this area for support. XOP, this one has been leading up, coming back down. Look at that 20-day, just gave it all back up. Right? ExxonMobil, it can't, I mean, it's not breaking out. 20-day, same kind of thing. We've talked about CVE. We like these names. Like this one, but it's due to bounce, like chop around. Valero gas names, we said leading down, right? Look at them, barely bouncing. MPC, barely bouncing, right? Barely, barely, barely. Keep an eye on that. Occidental, range to range, right? Again, Buffett, one day this will break out. When it does, we'll be there. But until then, Buffett's selling puts and calls, EQT. Check it out. We talked about this one. I like it long term, but let it play its game. It's big consolidation pattern. Big, 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 big. And natural gas is going to get probably popped at some point. Last but not least, Flex LNG. Again, I think we're natural gas exporters. Look at that. I mean, again, you've seen this 25 area. Keep an eye on it. So, again, I appreciate all the love, support, generous donations. You guys are amazing. Again, I apologize for the late review. If you've listened this far, you're probably someone who's been around the channel and know, yeah, life has not been always easy for Dan. And not the trading is the problem, but I think a lot of you guys know I've been struggling internally at the home. Had some issues with, with the spouse, and not in a bad way, in a like a negative way, but you're with someone for so long, and maybe it's for a season, maybe not for your whole life. So I appreciate all the friendly remarks, the kind love. Like, it really does matter. I appreciate it, because I'm not Superman. I struggle at times. Trading's not a perfect game. Life isn't perfect. It's about who you surround yourself, and I really appreciate all you guys who stick around and help out. I love you guys. Have a great weekend.